Hey everybody, welcome. So if you've been following my channel for a long time, you know I'm Dag, D-A-G, that's my nickname. And I really try to stay out of controversy, okay? And you know I love to build the big RC airplanes. A lot of them are LMA1 under the AMA waiver, the large model program they have that if you're over 55 pounds, how do we prove the FAA we're safe? And I try to stay out of these arguments on Facebook and, you know, the Debbie Downers and the haters. I don't care. You know, I've had so many people just say the silliest things, and I just don't care. I just try to share with everybody what I do and how I do it and the success I have. And I've got a 110-pound Bernese Mountain Dog that's going to pop in here, I think, a little bit into this podcast. YouTube. And I want to talk about radios. And I know this could completely just blow up into a complete effed up cluster of mess, because everybody's got an opinion, and I have no problem with that. I started my YouTube a long time ago, folks, because I was building some large planes, and a lot of my friends were like, you've got to be able to share your experiences and what works and what doesn't work. And and the thing is I'm not putting anybody down when I say this, okay? But I see people post all the time that, you know, Futaba's garbage, or JR's garbage, or, you know, they don't like, you know, just a particular radio. And this is my opinion, but it's also been my experience for doing this and doing a lot of very large airplanes and having unbelievable success. My MSL-1 has over 1,500 flights on it before I kind of retired it to my attic, because I'm going to put it on floats one day. And I can only carry so many big airplanes in my trailer at one time. Okay, I just don't have the cubic volume in a trailer to carry 2 or 3 big airplanes. So what I'm trying to do in this video, folks, is talk about what's worked for me in my opinion, okay? So I think all the radios out there are great. Jetty, JR, you know, Futaba, I think all of them. I mean, I started flying back in 1981 with a Cox Sandway radio. And I then went into Airtronics, and then I went to Futaba, then I went to JR, then I went back to Futaba. My humble opinion, I love Futaba, but it's the hardest and craziest radios to program unless you program it all the time. Okay, to me, that's my only beef with Futaba, is it just doesn't make sense sometimes on, you know, just to go in and pick a flap and program a flap. Sometimes you actually have to set the radio up that the plane doesn't just have like camber, but it has flaps. So I know there's going to be people that say they hate Futaba because they're hard to program. And I agree. I agree. But the reason you're crashing isn't your radio. Okay, I'll almost guarantee it. In all the flights I've had, the only 2 crashes I've ever had that I could blame the radio were my fault. One was low voltage on the battery. It browned out. The other one was actually I had a receiver that I'd had in 6 different airplanes that I would take the fun flies and crash. I mean, I flew these planes in combat. I tried to fly underneath a power line one time and cut the top of the airplane off. I tried to fly upside down the runway and knock over pop cans. I had crashed this airplane by being stupid, and I never sent the receiver away to have it checked. So one day I'm flying a 3rd scale Christen Eagle and just flying around. All of a sudden it just ignores me and decides to fly around until it crashed. I can't blame the radio for that. When you look at the rat's nest of wiring inside our like 20, 30, and 40 size airplanes, people don't realize how important it is on your radio setup. On my big airplanes, because I got a couple of grand or more invested in them, I check and triple check everything. But that's something we might not be doing on a smaller plane. You know, I have a Flex Cessna 170, which I think is one of the greatest planes I've ever owned. It's one of the best flying airplanes I've ever had. And I was very methodical. I mean, actually, a friend of mine set the airplane up for me. But I'm very methodical when I do the pre-flight, and I check, and I do every month. I pop open the hatch and look at the receiver to make sure everything's plugged in tight. Nothing has vibrated apart or shaken apart, because that airplane I yank and bang. I have my little Avante. I've flown it on some grass strips that are so bumpy that the thing's literally jumping 4 to 5 inches into the air as it's taxiing in. I mean, you think what that's doing to all the wiring and your setup inside the airplane. So, and folks, I try not to get into these pissing matches on YouTube and Facebook, but the other day I saw a post where this person completely blamed the radio for his crash. Completely blamed the radio. And in my personal experience, if that radio is set up and the battery's got the right voltage and you've binded it, and that's another thing, folks. I rebind once a month all of my airplanes. The reason I started doing this is I noticed one time that my telemetry wasn't giving me all of my information back, but I still had control of the airplane. Everything was working perfect. And I didn't know why I wasn't getting the telemetry. So I rebind it and all of a sudden the telemetry come back. So somewhere, something had gone a little bit amok there. A friend of mine, I'm not going to say the name of this radio, he can program anything and anything in this radio. I actually love the radio. I mean, it is absolutely a designer's dream because you can name every function. I mean, it is the coolest kind of like experimental type radio that you can name every function. You can program it. I mean, I don't know if it will play YouTube videos, but it is a really neat radio. But you use a complete piece of crap receiver with it. I mean, a complete piece of junk receiver with it. And folks, I don't judge people, okay? I really don't. I don't know why I know why he bought it, because he has a whole box of them. He told me. He knows that receiver. Okay, so, but the thing is, folks, the seed I want to plant is that if you're new to the hobby, and you go to YouTube and you see people say, oh, well, JR sucks. Or that Frisky, however you pronounce it, that sucks. Or Jetty sucks. They don't suck, okay? When you think about how many thousands of flights we get a year, think about this. My biggest irk with the FAA looking at model aviation is there's many, many more crashes in general aviation from bad piloting. Stalling on taking off, stalling while turning base to final. Basic principles that we learn, because I'm a full-scale pilot, when we fly an airplane. Okay? In model aviation, I think there's only been 1 or 2 deaths in the last 10 years in the whole country that I know of. And one of them I'm thinking about was with a helicopter, and it was from flying a little bit dangerously. And I could be wrong on that, folks. I hate to make statements that I don't have 100% of facts on. But when it comes to flying the big boys, everybody says, what kind of radio do you fly on the big boys? It's the same radio I would fly on anything else. So what I want to do here is, folks, and by the way, I love my Futaba, but I fly virtually all my airplanes on this. But I needed this as a second radio because I have like a glider we dropped from an airplane. Well, I made the glider. So I fly my primary drop ship with this, and I have a buddy fly the glider on this, or I let my buddy fly my plane up as a drop ship, and then I have this radio to fly around. A rumor came out after CEF that I bought this radio because I was having glitches with this radio, and that's complete BS. Complete BS. The reason I have 2 radios is because baby Olive here, who's a skydiving baby, see her parachute and everything, this is her drogue. We drop her, let her free fall all the way down to 100 feet, then you flip a switch here, it pulls a pin and her parachute opens. Okay? Now, if you're a big fan of baby Olive, she will be at CEF next year, and we're going to do some crazy. I'm building an ejection seat for her. We're going to shoot her out of an airplane and see if the ejection seat works. But folks, when it comes to radios, I really, and look, there'll be some of my really good nerdy friends watching this saying, well, Damon, Futaba's got a little bit better communication than some of the other radios. Maybe they do. I don't give a rat's ass. All I know is that if you gave me any of your radios with a factory receiver and I set that airplane up, I guarantee you would never have a radio glitch. You got to make sure you got batteries that don't let the voltage pull down. And I've done some test videos, folks, where I tried to pull Futaba all the way down to 3 volts, see if I could get it to brown out, and it didn't. It kept working. Now, a lot of people got mad at me saying, well, Damon, you should have tested a JR receiver. You should have tested one of those little red receivers. You should have. They're right, and I'll do that one day. But my biggest point was trying to see if I could get my Futaba receivers to brown out. And at 3 volts, they didn't. Okay, now the servos started moving really slow and stuff, just because they had such low voltage. But that's it, folks. I mean, I'm not going to go on and on and on. But flying my big airplane, I would fly my big airplane on this smaller Futaba, this T6K, they call it. I would fly my big airplanes on any commercially made radio as long as it's a factory receiver. Okay? Now, I'm not knocking the little red or orange or whatever you call those receivers if it's on a park flyer or a little beat around airplane. I would even put one in, well, I don't know. We love BB Olive too much. She's got a really expensive receiver in her. It's just because, folks, I didn't have a junk receiver laying around. It was in my other junk airplanes. So she's actually got like a $100 receiver in her. And no, I don't have telemetry coming back from her. I don't have any telemetry at all. So look, I hope you enjoy my videos, folks. Please like and subscribe and share. And if you get me, I appreciate it. If you don't get me, I don't give a rat's ass. You know, I had somebody, folks, this is what I do love. When the haters come and post on my YouTube, I love it, because that means they're not posting on somebody else's YouTube that might be younger or up and coming and trying to build their brand. I know some people, when people make bad remarks on their YouTube, it really bothers them. I love it. I love it when they call me names or because that means they're doing it on my YouTube and not somebody else's YouTube that might be younger or might be trying to break into the hobby, and they're wanting to put a picture of their airplane, and that hater might go over there and make fun of that. So I love haters. I want to be that hater magnet, actually. So, yeah, but everybody rock on. Have a great day. At the end of the day, if you're going to build your own servo wires, know what you're doing. If you're going to build your own battery wires, know what you're doing. If you're going to have a big electrical landing gear system on the same battery as your receiver, make sure you've got enough battery to hold that inrush and that draw, those 3 electric motors, or 2 electric motors, depending on your retract setup. Make sure that even if you're flying a beat around airplane, one of those really cool like flight test planes, that you take your time and put the right battery and receiver combination in there with the right servos. Okay, and what I mean by right servos, folks, is I sat at a fly-in a while ago, I'm not going to say where, and I watched this airplane sit there in the aileron just kept going all over the place. And I said, what's going on with that? And they said, oh, that's just a bad servo. But hey, they still flew the airplane. Now, you couldn't tell in the air if it was really doing that. But folks, I would never take a plane off. I mean, I'm not knocking that pilot, because he admitted it was a beat around airplane. But folks, and I know sometimes when we put a servo on the wing, it's a bitch to get it back out on some little airplanes. I mean, I've actually built airplanes with a servo in the wing. If the servo goes bad, I got to get a X-Acto knife and do some major surgery to get that servo and the wire out. Okay? So look, everybody, have a fabulous day. Rock on. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Take care.